Hello, book lovers, and welcome to Book Talk Radio Club. My name is Claire Perkins, and today I'm talking to author Victoria Johnson. Victoria is the author of Do That and Then Some: Transform Feelings of Less and More. Of less than to more than enough. Sorry, Victoria. Victoria is also an internationally certified success coach with clients from all around the world. She's a graduate of multiple coaching programs, both in personal development and business coaching. Hi, Victoria. First of all, welcome and thank you for coming on Book Talk Radio Club.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Victoria, would you like to give a brief description of Do That and Then Some?
I sure would. So how this book works is that it's separated into 5 different sections. And then each section, of course, has chapters. And within each chapter, there is a personal story or perhaps a coaching story from someone who is my client and has given me permission to share the story. And most importantly, then there's the lesson that comes with that story and how they overcame it. So then each chapter has what I call the and then some factor, which is the and then some steps that people can take to implement that lesson and overcoming it into their own life if they find that it is something that they are relating to and something that they are experiencing in their own life.
So, what was the inspiration behind the book?
Oh my goodness. I've wanted to write this book since I can remember. I just never, even as I was writing it, I didn't know exactly how it was going to come out. But I think the universal message that kept coming to me is we are all the same.
Yes.
And I know that if I felt this way, then, other people who read my story and read my clients' stories, they will relate to them as well and be able to have the book facilitate some sort of healing in other people and help them along their personal growth path, as along their spiritual growth path as well, and just to really enrich their lives. And that was the inspiration.
Part of the book blurb says this book empowers you to take action with the exact steps to help you make lasting changes in your life in an effective, easy, and uplifting way. Please, can you give Book Talk Radio Club's listeners a couple of examples of these steps?
Oh, yes, I certainly can. So, again, this goes back to that and then some factor and doing those extra steps. And for example, one of the chapters is on depression. And the titles, I try to be clever in my titles. And so the title of that chapter is They Say Depression is a Dip. No, it's more like drowning. And
Yes.
It is, right? And
Yeah.
so I share some stories about depression and overcoming depression throughout the story. But then the empowering part, the take action part, is in those and then some steps. So some of them are, and I'll just share a couple of steps on the depression with you. Remember that the universe, God, your higher power, always has a plan for you and wants what is best for you. Even when you want to give up, your source will not give up on you. Number 2, accept that what you are feeling. And that's a big deal, right? Accepting what we're feeling instead of trying to push it away.
Absolutely. The
right?
more you push something away, the closer it gets to you. Very simple.
That's so true. And I'm not saying stay there and wallow in it for 10 years, right? I'm just saying accept what you are feeling.
Yes.
And don't stay there forever. But when you accept it, then you're free to reach for that higher thought. You're free to get professional help if that's what you need. Speak to your friends, your family, your support tribe, whatever it is that you need to do. And then I also provide free resources on the website, victoriajohnson.org, that people can go to for extra support during the steps. I encourage people in this chapter to let go of the shame and to practice self-compassion. And then how to do that again in the steps and reminding them that they are enough, period. They don't need to feel like they're only enough when they're at their best. Yeah. But even when you're depressed and have the covers over your head, you're still enough.
Exactly.
And just really getting that message through to the reader.
Victoria, there are many self-help books out there, and thousands of them. What makes Do That and Then Some different?
You know what I love about this book is that I don't proclaim to be some guru who's going to tell you what to do in a very textbook or clinical how-to way. Instead, what I really encourage the reader to do is to go within themselves for the answers. And by sharing those real life situations, people can relate to them and learn from them,
Yeah,
and then go within themselves. And that's where the transformation occurs.
absolutely. And when you realize that when you're going through something, that you're not the only one who's going through it, it makes a huge difference, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And so often we isolate ourselves and we put on this persona of I'm fine, everything's
Mm,
fine.
exactly.
And we don't realize that, our neighbor or our best friend may be feeling the same kinds of things that we're feeling right at that moment.
One of the chapters in the book is titled Your Health, Using Your Thoughts, Feelings, and Emotions to Improve It. I know that there are going to be a good number of people that will think, what have my thoughts, feelings, and emotions got to do with my health? Please, can you explain?
Oh, I sure can. So that's one of the section titles. There's the five different sections. The first section is on the inner child. And I didn't want to go there. I didn't want to have that first section be on the inner child because, well, frankly, I was afraid it was a little too woo woo and that people might not want to go ahead with things. But really, that's the basis for everything.
Yes.
And then I moved on to the section on your health, then a section on relationships and prosperity and spirituality and all of those. So, getting back to your question on the health and using your thoughts and feelings and emotions, it's really all there in that mind body connection.
Yeah.
And, I'm so grateful now that we live in an age where there's so much science
Yes.
behind that mind body connection. And, even just the simple little things like, what you focus on, you get more of.
Yes.
So, if you wake up with a headache and are determined to just talk about that headache all day long, it's
Yeah.
probably not going anywhere. You're probably going to
Exactly.
have it all day long.
Exactly.
And yes, and so instead, if we change our thoughts and we are affirming throughout the day, I am healthy, I am strong, I feel great. My body is well hydrated, my cells support me, and just keeping that focus on what we want more of, then our body reacts accordingly. And like I said, there's just so much science around this now, which is amazing. One of my favorite people to go to for research is Dr. Bruce Lipton.
Mhm.
He's a cell biologist, and he has amazing books out there right now. One of my favorites is an oldie of his, which is The Biology of Belief.
It's
So I would,
wonderful.
yes, I would certainly encourage your readers to pick that up as well. And just as an example of how when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change, which again was a great quote by Dr. Wayne Dyer.
Mhm.
um, an example that I like to give when I'm giving talks is I talk about the weigh scale, because most of us, we've had a battle or two with the weigh scale.
Mm.
And say for example, if your goal weight is 160 and you're tipping the scales at 185. I'll
Mm.
tell you, when you get down to that 160, you are the healthiest, strongest, most vibrant, most amazing person out there. And you feel like you can conquer the world,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Um, Yet, if you're sitting at 150 and that scale creeps up to 160, then all of a sudden you're fat, you're tired, you have no energy, you're a loser, all of your clothes look terrible on you, and you don't want to go out in public, you don't want to go out with the girls for girls' night out, all of those things. So the number on the scale, the 160, is still the same, no matter how you look at it. But those
Yes.
are two extreme examples on how our thoughts, feelings, and emotions affect our health.
Absolutely. Another one of your chapters talks about prosperity and breaking down barriers to choose an abundant life. What are these barriers? I know a lot of people are going to go, what's going on here? What's this about?
Well, it's funny because I do a talk quite often. It's called Mastering Your Psychology About Money.
Mhm.
And people can find it on YouTube, just Victoria Johnson, Mastering Your Psychology About Money. And one of the things that I talk about there and in the book is recognizing the negative thoughts and beliefs that we have about money.
Mm.
Because so often we don't even know what's rolling around in our own head.
Yes.
So, some examples are like, you have to work hard to get ahead, and money doesn't buy you happiness. Save your money for a rainy day. Money comes in one hand and out the other. I'm just trying to think of some here because my dad had many. I love that man with all my heart, but he had many for me. And then again, there's that society, it's not polite to talk about money, or we have an idea in our mind that people with lots of money are greedy or they're snobby or they're somehow not warm and loving.
Yes.
All of these different things. I've heard so many people say, it's impossible to save enough money for a down payment, or I can't afford this, or I can't afford that, right? So we have all of these negative beliefs about money. So, of course, that's what we get more of.
Yes.
And the science behind it is, that so many people, I don't remember the exact percentage, but so many people never ever break out of the financial class that they were born into, because we just keep doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same results, as Einstein would say, right?
Yes.
And so instead, we're just really learning to change those thoughts to, instead of worrying, believing that money comes to me easily. Money buys me freedom and it buys me choices, and I use my money to make a difference. Knowing that, yes, I have money to pay the bills, but I also have money that I can spend on me and enjoy. And I'm excited about money, and I share that excitement with others. I don't feel like I need to be quiet about it. And I know that when things come up in my life, unexpected expenses, I can easily replace that income, and that I'll be okay, and that I'll be fine. And another thing that I love to share with people is that when we break out of that I can't afford it mentality, we can go into the I can afford anything. And I didn't say everything, but anything, whatever it is that your heart desires, that you can set as a desire for yourself. And one of the easiest ways I find to make money is to be in your passion, to really, and the book goes into detail about that, on how to really live in your passion and find what excites you and find what you love to do. And you're just always in that high vibration energy that just attracts more and more goodness to you, including the financial part of it.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. We hear a lot of people talking about forgiveness, but how easy is it actually to forgive someone that has treated you abysmally?
Well, I'm going to answer that question personally. It's not easy, right? There are some things in life that are easy to forgive, and we can decide to make them as easy or as hard as we want to. But for me, I've had situations that I've had to work for several years to forgive, and then to go that step and forgive myself as well. So it really truly is a process, this forgiveness. It's a little bit at a time. And when I think about one situation in my life in particular, I was stuck in that place for probably 20 years. And, I felt like I was owed an apology. I felt like the other person should own up to what they did. And when I finally was willing to release that, and to know that I probably will never, ever get that apology and that person will never, ever own up to it, I was able to let it go and just forgive it, and actually get to a place, and I would have never believed this was true. So if you're a listener out there hearing this, I understand how you feel. I got to a place where I was able to be grateful for the experience, because it propelled my life forward in a huge way, because it was a situation where I had to learn to sink or swim really quickly. I was able to develop my confidence that way, and so found the forgiveness, found a place where I could forgive myself for being stuck in that story for 20 years, and found a way to find gratitude. And I just want to be clear, that doesn't mean that I'm calling the person up and saying, hey, I forgive you, let's go for coffee. No thanks. Right?
Exactly.
Yes, but I've got that place in my heart now where I've been able to let go of the emotion that was attached to the event, and to just really forgive. And every time we do that, even if it's just the little tiny things that we're forgiving, it's that positive reinforcement to improve ourselves, right?
Exactly. I think a lot of people feel that if they're going to forgive, it means they've got to forget. But the thing is with forgiveness, it doesn't mean to say you've got to forget what happens. You've just got to let go of the feelings from it.
Absolutely.
Even if you
Yes.
can't, even if you can't be face to face with the person and tell them what you think of them. I remember in one of Louise Hay's books, it said that, and we'll talk about her in a moment, that if you can't actually stand face to face with the person, imagine them in your head and you're saying to them exactly what they've done to you, and you say, I forgive you. But it doesn't mean to say you've got to forget it or just accept it lying down, as it were. But to get rid of the anger, the hurt, resentment is so very, very important, because otherwise it just eats away at you. It's poison.
It absolutely is poison. And, I see that so often when I look back at my life or when I'm helping other people. And you're right about Louise Hay. That was one of her main points of philosophy, is that we can release the past and forgive everyone. And one of the things, I remember when I first read that, everyone. What do you mean, everyone? Right? There's a few people I can forgive,
Mm,
but not everyone. But I did get to that place, and one thing that she teaches is, the past really only exists in our mind. So when
yes.
we hang on to this stuff, the person that we're punishing is ourselves, and we're punishing ourselves for something that doesn't even exist anymore. It's just something that's in the past. And
Mm,
I loved what you said about that. We don't have to, be hanging on to that as well, right? It doesn't condone the other person's behavior. It doesn't mean it was all right.
mm,
We're just letting go of our own stuff.
exactly. So you're a teacher and a coach in Canada for the Heal Your Life workshops. Would you like to tell Book Talk Radio Club's listeners about these workshops?
Oh, I most certainly would. So I run a training program actually that helps people, certifies people to become Heal Your Life workshop teachers and Heal Your Life coaches. This is a program that is authorized by Hay House, which is the world's largest inspirational publisher and started by Louise Hay herself. And so I think there's 23 of us worldwide now that are authorized to do this, and we run these international trainings. I run it in Canada. People are internationally certified then as Heal Your Life workshop teachers and coaches. So then they go out into their part of the world and their city, their community, wherever it is that they want to go, and teach these workshops either to a group or one-on-one with personal coaching, and really just bringing the philosophies forward of the Heal Your Life work. And, what we give out, we get back. Um, just different philosophies that Louise was really big on. Our thoughts are creative. What we believe about ourselves becomes true. And we take people through this emotional experience in a very safe way where they are able to recognize in their life where they're blaming themselves and blaming other people, and working through some anger and forgiveness and creating this beautiful new life story for them with visualizations and affirmations and so on. And if people want more information on that, they can go to my website, which is for the training is thetraining.ca.
Right. So the Heal Your Life workshops came from the wonderful and much missed author and self-help guru Louise Hay. I read Heal Your Life back in 1990 when I was going through a terrible time in my life. And the book literally did save my life. So how did you personally become involved with the workshops?
Well, it's an interesting story actually because, like you, it was the late '80s for me when I became involved with the Heal Your Life, the book. Right, you can heal your life, the book. And
Hmm.
and as a side note, I just want to say I love that you've shared that piece of information that it helped you in a terrible time. And I do so many different events and trade shows and events sponsored by Hay House, and people will come by the table and they'll say, Victoria Louise Hay saved my life. She changed my life. And it just warms my heart every time I hear these words. And for anyone who's listening who thinks, I'm just one person, what can I do? Let me tell you, this is what you can do. Louise started she was in her 50s when she wrote You Can Heal Your Life, and even older, of course, when she started Hay House, and she has made such an incredible impact on the world. So back to your question, how I got started. I'm a little chatty. You've probably noticed that by now.
That's
Um,
okay.
how I got started. started was actually it was a boyfriend's mother gave me the book, You Can Heal Your Life. And, I had a really good upbringing and so on, but I just never really felt like everything that I was being taught, say in Sunday school, for example, was 100% my belief system. There was lots of really great things, but there were some things that I didn't completely resonate with. But when I read this book, I felt like she was a kindred spirit to me, and that it was okay for me to feel the way I felt, and I didn't have to keep beating myself up for feeling the way I did, and all of that negative self-talk that I should be fitting in more to the mold that was my family. And so on and off throughout my 20s and 30s, I followed the book closely and sometimes not so closely. And then back in 2012, I attended an event where it was an I Can Do It event put on by Hay House. And Dr. Wayne Dyer was there, and Louise was there, and it was wonderful to just go see them. And at some point along the way, I picked up a brochure for this training to become a Heal Your Life teacher and coach, and didn't even really notice that I picked it up. And a couple of months later, found it on my desk and pursued it and became a Heal Your Life teacher and coach. And then over the next few years, of course, working with many people, was invited to go down to San Diego, where the head office of Heart Inspired Presentations is. That's Dr. Patricia Crane, who Louise Hay herself handpicked to take this work forward. And so I went down and trained with her, and then I went down and assisted her a few times in running workshops, and then eventually was asked to be the Heal Your Life teacher trainer and coach trainer for Canada, which is an incredible privilege for me. And I'm just getting geared up and getting everything together for our next training, which starts on March 30th. So my heart is full of absolute happiness and joy to be sharing this work.
Louise Hay's philosophy was that your thoughts create your experiences, and it's so true, isn't it? I mean, many people ask me, how can I control my thoughts? It took me a long time to realise that one doesn't have to control one's thoughts, but just be aware of them, both the good and the bad. You've also published a workbook to accompany Do That and Then Some. How does the workbook work, as it were?
Okay, so lots of great things that you just said there. I just want to say one thing about how does one control one's thoughts. Becoming aware of them, like you said, it's really huge. Becoming aware of our words is a great first step, and also just really being kind to ourselves and not expecting ourselves to be producing this 100% positive thoughts 100% of the time. But to know that everything is a process and everything takes time, and we all have times when we do better than other times. And so again, part of that transforming of feelings of less than to more than enough is accepting that part about ourselves. And knowing that, even if we've had one of those days and we've had some pretty negative things come out of our mouths, never mind in our mind, we are still more than enough. So how the workbook works with the book is that the workbook has little summaries at the beginning of each chapter. The chapters follow the chapters that are in the book itself. And then they have places where you can work through all of the and then some steps so that you have everything in one place. And it takes you through this beautiful process. Again, like I said, starting with inner child, moving into health, moving into relationships, your financial prosperity and working in your passion, and then the last section being your spiritual life, your way.
Victoria, I'm going to have to move along a little bit now. So what's next on the horizon for you book-wise?
Well, what's really fun is about 2 days ago, I wrote a sentence, the first sentence of my next book, which will be on abuse and addiction recovery. I want to dig a little bit deeper into that because I think so often when we think of addiction, we think of drugs and alcohol or gambling or something like that. But I want to look at the hidden addictions, the sneaky little ones that creep into our lives. And that's where things are going with the next book.
So where can Book Talk Radio Club's listeners purchase your books?
Well, there's Amazon. I'm in Amazon UK, Amazon.com, Amazon.in for India, CA for Canada. They can certainly go there for Do That and Then Some, the book and the workbook, as well as the free resources that are also available to support it on victoriajohnson.org or for the Heal Your Life training at thetraining.ca.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Victoria. That was absolutely fascinating. Please come back on Book Talk Radio Club again. I'd love to chat with you and hear more. In the meantime, good luck for the future. And thank you, everyone, for listening to Book Talk Radio Club. Thank you very much, Victoria.